Applause stalls mid-clap when I step into the auditorium wings. The velvet curtain brushes my shoulder, heavy with decades of performances. And somewhere in the third row, Maya's laugh cuts through the ceremonial quiet like glass breaking. I adjust my silver sash, not the gold one she wears, but silver suits me better tonight. The program in my hand lists her as student council president. My name printed smaller underneath as arts committee chair. Perfect. This time I planned it that way. This time I let her wear the crown while I built the kingdom. The memory surfaces without invitation. 6 months ago, in another life, standing in this same spot, Maya had stolen the presidency through Noah's carefully orchestrated vote-buying scheme, using promises of arts funding she never intended to keep. I'd fought her publicly, desperately, and lost everything. My reputation, my allies, my chance to protect the theater program that mattered more than any title. I died in a car accident 3 days after graduation, bitter and defeated, watching the demolition trucks arrive for the arts wing from my hospital bed. The last thing I saw was Noah's satisfied smirk as he shook hands with the contractor who would turn our black box theater into additional parking spaces. But I woke up at 17 again, 6 months before the election, with knowledge that would change everything. This time I kept the receipts. Sophie, Mrs. Chen, the guidance counselor, touches my elbow. Her silver bracelet catches the stage lights, a detail I remember from my first life but somehow notice more keenly now. You're on in 30 seconds. Ready? I straighten my cuffs, a ritual that centers me. The motion is deliberate, practiced, one of many small habits I've developed to anchor myself in moments of high stakes. Ready. The auditorium holds 800, and tonight every seat is filled. Parents lean forward in burgundy velvet seats that were installed during the building's renovation in 1987, their programs rustling like autumn leaves. Faculty members cluster in the reserved section, some grading papers even now, others chatting quietly with school board members whose decisions will shape this district for the next decade. 3 local arts patrons sit in the front row, Mrs. Whitmore with her pearls and sharp eyes, the Chen family representatives who've funded college scholarships for 2 decades, and Marcus Rivera, the gallery owner whose connections reach into state-level arts councils. Their donations matter more than the entire student government budget combined. Maya glitters on stage in her gold presidential sash, the fabric catching every spotlight as she delivers her victory speech about new directions and responsible spending. Her auburn hair is swept into a perfect chignon, and her navy dress fits like it was tailored specifically for this moment. She looks every inch the part of a student leader, poised and confident in a way that makes adults nod approvingly. She has no idea that I've spent 4 months quietly building something she can't touch. When I ran for president, Maya continues, her voice carrying easily to the back rows, I promised transparency, fiscal responsibility, and programs that serve our entire student body. Tonight, I'm proud to report that we've delivered on those promises. The applause is warm, genuine. Maya is genuinely liked, not just popular in the superficial high school way, but respected by teachers and parents who see her as mature beyond her years. In my first life, I resented that respect, felt it should have been mine instead. Now I understand it as an asset I can work with, rather than against. Our administration has streamlined student government operations, reducing unnecessary spending by 18% while increasing funding for academic support programs. Maya gestures to a printed chart beside the podium, her movements natural and unrehearsed. She's not just reading talking points. She understands the numbers, believes in the vision she's presenting. It's a good speech, hitting all the notes that matter to this audience. Fiscal responsibility for the parents worried about tax increases, academic focus for the faculty concerned about test scores, streamlined efficiency for the board members juggling dozens of competing priorities. Maya has learned to speak the language of institutional power in ways that most student leaders never master. The problem is that 18% reduction came almost entirely from arts programming. Now I'd like to introduce our Arts Committee Chair, Maya announces, gesturing toward the wings with practiced magnanimity. Sophie will be presenting tonight's cultural showcase and updating us on the committee's important work. I walk into the spotlight to polite applause. Maya steps aside, smiling with the confidence of someone who believes she's won. She looks beautiful up there, all shine and surface, exactly as she did in my first life. The difference is that this time I'm not trying to dim her light, I'm using it. Thank you, Maya. I move to the podium, my prepared remarks folded in my palm. The paper is warm from my grip, slightly damp with nervous perspiration that I hope doesn't show. But I don't look at the notes. Instead, I scan the audience until I find Noah in the faculty section. His expression neutral as always. He's sitting with Mr. Rodriguez, the theater director, and Miss Park, who runs the gallery program. The positioning is strategic. Noah always places himself near the adults whose opinions matter, building relationships that transcend student politics. He's been Maya's campaign manager, her closest advisor, the one who whispered strategies in her ear and convinced her that gutting arts funding was politically smart. He's also been reporting our private conversations to the school board, undermining my efforts while pretending to offer support. In my first life, I trusted Noah completely. He was handsome and charming, with sandy hair that always looked perfectly tousled, and the kind of easy confidence that made adults take him seriously. He remembered details about people's families, asked thoughtful questions about their work, and had a way of making everyone feel like they were his closest confidant. He was also a master manipulator who saw every relationship as a tool for advancing his own agenda. 6 months ago, I begin, my voice carrying clearly through the auditorium's excellent acoustics, this school faced a budget crisis. Declining state funding, increased operational costs, and competing demands for limited resources forced difficult decisions about program priorities. A murmur ripples through the audience. This isn't the usual student government fluff. I'm acknowledging real problems that keep administrators awake at night. Tonight, I'm proud to announce that crisis is over. The murmur becomes a buzz of excitement. Maya's smile falters slightly. This wasn't in the script she approved. Her eyes find mine, and I see a flicker of confusion. She expected me to present a modest update on winter concert ticket sales and spring play auditions. The Whitmore Foundation has committed to a 5-year arts endowment totaling $250,000. I pause as excited whispers fill the auditorium. Mrs. Whitmore, in her front row seat, nods regally. She's been waiting weeks for this public announcement, and I can see her satisfaction at the audience's reaction. The Chen Family Trust will fund our new digital media lab, including equipment, software licenses, and professional development for faculty. The Chen representatives exchange pleased glances. Their contribution is actually larger than the Whitmore endowment, but they prefer their philanthropy to focus on practical outcomes rather than prestige projects. And as of this afternoon, I continue, letting the anticipation build, the State Arts Council has designated Westfield High as a regional cultural hub, bringing us an additional $100,000 annually in operational support. The applause builds like thunder, starting with the arts parents and spreading through the entire auditorium. Faculty members are standing, board members are nodding approvingly, and even some of the initially skeptical athletics parents are clapping enthusiastically. This isn't just good news, it's transformational funding that will reshape how this school operates. But I'm watching Noah. His face has gone carefully blank, the mask of neutral professionalism he wears when he's processing unexpected information. I know exactly what he's thinking. He told Maya these negotiations would fail. He advised her to pivot away from arts entirely, to focus on athletics and STEM programs that would pull better with parents. He was counting on me to fail because my failure would validate his strategic advice and strengthen his influence over Maya's decision-making. This couldn't have happened without the vision and leadership of our student government. I continue, nodding toward Maya, who is now clapping mechanically while her mind races to process the implications. President Caldwell understood that supporting the arts means supporting our entire academic community. It's a careful lie. Maya had nothing to do with securing these grants. She'd actively opposed my efforts, following Noah's advice that chasing arts funding was a waste of political capital that could be better spent on programs with broader appeal. But I'm giving her credit anyway, tying her success to mine in a way that makes me indispensable while protecting her reputation. Maya's smile is frozen now, but she's smart enough to recognize both the gift I'm giving her and the position it puts her in. She can't contradict my account without admitting she had no involvement in the biggest funding win in the school's recent history. But Accepting credit means accepting responsibility for outcomes she didn't plan or anticipate. I'd also like to recognize the faculty advisors who made this possible. I turned slightly, making eye contact with Mr. Rodriguez and Miss Park. Their expertise and connections in the regional arts community were invaluable, and both teachers beam. They remember my first life, when Maya's budget cuts forced Rodriguez into early retirement and closed Park's program entirely. This time, I approached them in January with a different plan. Work with me directly, bypass student government entirely, and build funding streams Maya couldn't touch. Rodriguez is in his 50s with graying temples and the patient intensity of someone who's spent decades coaxing performances out of nervous teenagers. Park is younger, early 30s, with the restless energy of an artist who fell into teaching and discovered she loved it. Both of them have master's degrees and professional connections that extend far beyond this high school. They also have institutional memory of previous funding battles and the political savvy to recognize genuine opportunities when they see them. Working with Sophie has been remarkable, Rodriguez says during the brief interview segment Maya had planned for later in the program. She approaches grant writing with the thoroughness of a development professional and the passion of someone who truly understands what arts education can accomplish. It's a generous assessment, but not inaccurate. I spent my Christmas break reading grant applications from successful programs across the state, analyzing what worked and why. I attended 3 professional development workshops for nonprofit administrators, taking copious notes and asking questions that earned me business cards from foundation program officers. Most importantly, I learned to speak the language of institutional funding, outcomes assessment, community impact, measurable objectives, sustainable programming. The same language Maya uses when she talks about academic achievement and fiscal responsibility. Of course, I continue, moving back to the podium, sustainable arts programming requires careful financial oversight and strategic planning, which is why I've accepted appointment to the district's Youth Arts Advisory Board. This is news to everyone, including Maya. I submitted my application through Mrs. Chen 6 weeks ago, understanding that a district position would give me authority that transcends school politics. Maya could fire me as arts committee chair, but she can't touch my district appointment. The appointment also came with interesting perks: a small stipend, college credit through the district's partnership with the local community college, and direct access to regional funding opportunities that individual schools can't pursue independently. Dr. Williams, the school board president, rises slightly in her seat to acknowledge the announcement. She's a small woman with silver hair and sharp eyes who remembers when this district had one of the best arts programs in the state, before a series of budget cuts and administrative changes gradually eroded support for creative programming. Sophie's appointment represents a new model for student leadership, Dr. Williams says when Maya invites her to comment. Too often, we limit student involvement to advisory roles with no real authority. The Youth Arts Advisory Board gives students genuine decision-making power over programming that affects thousands of their peers across the district. The audience is fully engaged now, parents leaning forward, board members nodding approvatively, faculty members exchanging impressed glances. I've positioned myself as the competent administrator who delivers results while Maya gets to be the charismatic figurehead. It's a partnership that serves us both and locks her into supporting my vision. But I'm not done yet. Maya, I say, turning to her with genuine warmth, would you like to announce tonight's performers? She recovers quickly, stepping back to the microphone with renewed confidence. As president, she's accustomed to being the center of attention, and public speaking is one of her genuine strengths. Her voice takes on the warm, inclusive tone that makes people feel welcomed and valued. I'm delighted to introduce our string quartet, featuring musicians from 3 different grade levels who've been working together since September to prepare tonight's program. Maya gestures toward the wings, where 4 students wait with their instruments. Their performance is made possible by the new instrument lending program that Sophie's grants have funded. It's a smooth recovery, giving her a role in presenting the fruits of my labor while acknowledging the source of the funding. Maya is learning quickly how to navigate this new dynamic between us. The performance begins with a Bach piece that showcases technical precision, before moving into more contemporary arrangements that demonstrate the program's range and ambition. The acoustics in this auditorium are excellent, another legacy of the building's 1980s renovation, And the music fills the space with rich, layered harmonies that make even the most skeptical parents nod appreciatively. I slip into the wings to watch from the side. This is where I prefer to be anyway, close enough to ensure everything runs smoothly, far enough back to avoid the spotlight's glare while maintaining clear sightlines to all the important players. From here, I can see Noah's reaction as the full implications of the evening sink in. He's sitting rigidly upright, his usual casual confidence replaced by careful attention to every word being spoken. His phone is face down on his lap, a small detail that speaks to how seriously he's taking this development. Noah built his influence on being the strategic mastermind behind Maya's success, the advisor whose political instincts and long-term planning made her presidency effective. But I've just demonstrated strategic thinking that outmaneuvered him completely, securing funding he insisted was impossible while building institutional relationships he didn't even know existed. Impressive work. I turn to find Dr. Williams standing beside me. She's moved quietly from her front row seat, navigating the wings with the familiarity of someone who's attended dozens of these events over her years on the school board. Thank you, though President Caldwell deserves most of the credit for creating the political framework that made it possible. Dr. Williams smiles slightly. Generous of you to say, but I know who wrote the grant applications. And I know who spent spring break visiting potential donors instead of going to Cancun. That spring break was a calculated sacrifice. While my classmates posted beach photos on Instagram, I drove to 3 different cities, meeting with foundation program officers and touring successful arts programs to understand what made them work. I sat through budget presentations and strategic planning sessions, taking notes and asking questions that demonstrated serious commitment to long-term program development. The program needed advocates, I say simply. It needed a strategist. She hands me her card, thick cardstock with embossed lettering that suggests this is more than a casual introduction. The district is launching a summer arts intensive for high-achieving students from across the region. We need a youth coordinator. Interested? I glance at the card. A paid position, college credit available, direct report to the superintendent. It's more authority than any student council president has ever held, with responsibilities that extend far beyond a single school's boundaries. I'll need to discuss it with President Caldwell, I say carefully. Make sure it aligns with her administration's priorities. Dr. Williams nods approvingly. Smart. But Sophie? She leans closer, her voice dropping to ensure our conversation remains private. Some people build their careers on other people's work. Others build the work that careers depend on. You're the latter. She walks away, leaving me holding an opportunity Maya doesn't even know exists yet. The quartet finishes to enthusiastic applause, and Maya returns to the microphone for closing remarks. She's back in her element now, thanking everyone for their support and outlining her vision for the remainder of the school year. She mentions the arts funding as evidence of her administration's effectiveness, weaving my accomplishments into a broader narrative of successful leadership. It's skillfully done, and I let her have it. Maya is genuinely good at this part of the job, the public presentation, the relationship management, the ability to make diverse constituencies feel heard and valued. These are skills I lack, and I'm learning to appreciate them as complementary to my own strengths rather than threats to my influence. One more thing, Maya says, her voice taking on a more personal note. I want to thank my campaign manager and closest advisor, Noah Prescott, for his guidance throughout this process. My stomach tightens. This is the moment I've been preparing for. Noah stands to acknowledge the recognition, smiling modestly. He's handsome in that prep school way, with sandy hair and the kind of confidence that comes from never really facing consequences. His gray suit is perfectly tailored, his tie knotted with casual precision that suggests both attention to detail and comfort with formal occasions. In my first life, I trusted him completely. He was my friend, my confidant, the one person who seemed to understand my vision for the arts program and share my frustration with the school's priorities. He listened to my plans with apparent enthusiasm, offered strategic advice that seemed insightful, and positioned himself as my ally in navigating the complex politics of student government and school administration, right up until he sold me out. Noah's strategic insights have been invaluable, Maya continues. His understanding of what our community really needs has shaped every decision we've made. I pull out my phone and send a single text. Now, 3 rows from the front, Rebecca Martinez, editor of the school newspaper, checks her phone and nods. She's been my ally since February when I helped her expose the athletic department's grade inflation scandal. Tonight, she's about to publish a story that will redefine Noah's legacy. Rebecca is slight and intense, with dark hair always pulled back in a practical ponytail and the kind of focused energy that makes adults take her seriously despite her size. She carries herself with the confidence of someone who's uncovered real corruption and seen the consequences play out in public. Her journalism teacher calls her a natural investigator, and after working with her for several months, I understand why. She's also ambitious in the best possible way. She wants her work to matter, to create positive change rather than just generate clicks or controversy. As we look toward next year, Maya says, I know Noah will continue to The auditorium's main screen, normally used for presentations, flickers to life. The audience turns, confused, as a familiar interface appears, the school's internal email system. Rebecca had coordinated this moment carefully. She'd worked with the AV team to ensure remote access to the presentation system, uploaded her story to the school's network, and timed the reveal to maximum impact. The technical execution is flawless, but the content is what matters. The headline appears in bold letters. Internal messages reveal systematic undermining of student arts programs. Maya stops mid-sentence, staring at the screen. Noah's face has gone white, his carefully maintained composure cracking for the first time I can remember. The first email appears, sent from Noah's account to 3 school board members in March. FYI, Sophie Chen's grant applications are amateur hour. She's overpromising on deliverables and doesn't understand basic budget reconciliation. Might want to slow walk the approvals until she learns some humility. A murmur runs through the audience. Parents are pointing at the screen, faculty members are whispering to each other, and Maya is looking between Noah and me with growing comprehension. The message is damaging not just because of its content, but because of its tone. Noah isn't offering constructive criticism or professional concerns. He's actively trying to sabotage work he's supposed to be supporting, using language that suggests personal animosity rather than policy disagreement. The second email is worse. Maya's doing great work positioning away from arts funding. Smart politics. Sophie's going to crash and burn on these grant applications, and when she does, we can pivot the whole budget toward programs that actually matter. Athletics, STEM, college prep, the stuff that gets kids into good schools. Noah sent that email the same day I told him in confidence about my concerns that the Whitmore Foundation might reject our application. I'd trusted him with my fears, sought his advice about how to strengthen the proposal, and asked for his help in identifying potential alternative funding sources. He'd used that vulnerable moment to undermine me with the very people whose support I needed most. The third email appears. Board meeting went perfectly. They're skeptical about Sophie's projections, just like we hoped. Maya should start distancing herself now, before the whole thing collapses. Arts kids are naive about how real funding works. The auditorium has gone completely silent. 800 people are reading Noah's private thoughts about the students he was supposed to be helping, the programs he was actively trying to destroy, and the administrators he was manipulating through selective information sharing. Maya finds her voice first. I had no idea Noah was sending these messages. It's true, and I know it. Maya might be politically calculating, but she's not cruel. She genuinely believed Noah's advice that arts funding was impossible to secure within current budget constraints. She thought she was being realistic about what student government could accomplish, not destructive toward programs that mattered to her peers. Which is why I made sure the final email was the most damaging. It appears now, sent just last week, Maya's getting too attached to Sophie's arts victory. Need to remind her that being president means making hard choices, not letting committee chairs upstage her. Maybe time to call in some favors, get Sophie replaced with someone more manageable. The gasp from the audience is audible. This isn't just about arts funding anymore. It's about Noah manipulating Maya, treating her like a puppet he could control rather than a leader making informed decisions. Maya's face is flushed with anger and embarrassment. She trusted Noah completely, relied on his advice for every major decision, and now she's learning that he saw her as a tool for his own agenda rather than a partner in shared governance. The email also reveals something else. Noah saw my success as a threat to his influence, and he was prepared to eliminate that threat through administrative maneuvering rather than honest competition. Noah, Maya says, her voice carrying across the silent auditorium, would you like to explain these messages? Noah stands slowly, his composure finally cracking. He looks around the room at the faculty members he's insulted, the board members he's tried to manipulate, the parents whose children he's dismissed as naive dreamers, and his usual confidence has evaporated, replaced by the uncomfortable realization that his private thoughts are now public knowledge. But more than that, he's recognizing how thoroughly he's been outmaneuvered. These emails didn't leak accidentally. They were collected systematically, analyzed carefully, and released strategically for maximum impact. These emails are taken out of context, he says, but his voice lacks conviction. I was trying to provide balanced counsel to make sure we were being fiscally responsible. You call the arts kids naive, interrupts Miss Park, the gallery director. Her voice is shaking with controlled fury. You told the board that their grant applications were amateur hour. You tried to sabotage funding that would benefit hundreds of students, adds Mr. Rodriguez, students who trusted you to advocate for them. The faculty response is particularly damaging because these are adults whose professional opinions carry weight with parents and administrators. They're not emotional teenagers making accusations. They're experienced educators expressing legitimate outrage at behavior that violated basic principles of student advocacy. Noah's eyes find mine across the auditorium. For a moment, I see something like understanding pass between us. He knows exactly how thoroughly he's been outmaneuvered, how completely his strategic advantage has been reversed. In my first life, Noah's betrayal was private, whispered in board meetings and backroom conversations. Maya never knew he was undermining me, and I had no way to prove it. This time, I documented everything. Every conversation, every meeting, every moment when Noah thought he was safely manipulating behind the scenes. Rebecca had been investigating for months, following leads I provided, building a comprehensive case that went far beyond these few emails. She had voice recordings of Noah making dismissive comments about art students, text messages where he coordinated with athletics boosters to oppose funding proposals, and testimonies from 3 other students Noah had similarly betrayed. But the emails were the smoking gun. Incontrovertible evidence of systematic bad faith that no one could dismiss or rationalize away. I think, says Dr. Williams, rising from her seat in the front row, this is a conversation that needs to continue in a more appropriate setting. Mr. Prescott, my office Monday morning. Noah nods mutely and sits down. His political career is over, not just at school, but anywhere in the district. Word will spread quickly through the tight-knit community of parents and administrators who run local politics, and Noah's reputation for manipulation will follow him to college and beyond. The silence stretches for several heartbeats before Maya takes a deep breath and returns to the microphone. Her composure is impressive. She's processing a fundamental betrayal by her closest advisor while maintaining enough professional poise to salvage the evening's program. I want to apologize to everyone, especially to Sophie and the arts community, for the actions taken in my administration's name. These messages do not represent my values or my vision for student government. The apology is genuine, and I can see her struggling with the realization that her closest advisor was actively working against her stated goals while positioning himself as indispensable to her success. Effective immediately, she continues, I'm announcing the formation of a joint task force between the Student Council and the Arts Committee to ensure this kind of miscommunication never happens again. Sophie, I hope you'll agree to co-chair this initiative with me. It's a smart move politically, Maya distancing herself from Noah while aligning with my demonstrated success. But it's also more than that. I can see in her expression that she's genuinely shaken by the betrayal, and she wants to rebuild trust with constituencies Noah had encouraged her to ignore. I walk back onto the stage and take the microphone. The moment feels charged with possibility. 800 people watching to see how I'll respond to this public vindication, this opportunity to claim victory over someone who wronged me. President Caldwell, I'd be honored to work with you on this initiative, and I want everyone to know Maya had nothing to do with these emails. She's been nothing but supportive of the arts community, even when her advisors were counseling against it. It's true, mostly. Maya might have been skeptical about my grant applications, but she never actively opposed them. She signed the paperwork I needed, provided the administrative support that made applications possible, and maintained respectful working relationships with arts faculty, even when Noah was advising her to reduce their influence. And now, with Noah exposed as a manipulator, I can afford to be generous with her reputation. The audience responds positively, parents nodding, faculty looking relieved that their student leaders are presenting a united front. Maya shoots me a grateful look, and I see something new in her expression. Respect. Not the polite acknowledgement she'd offered before, but genuine appreciation for someone who could have destroyed her reputation and chose instead to protect it. This school year has taught us all something important, I continue. Real leadership isn't about titles or recognition. It's about building something larger than yourself, something that serves the whole community. President Caldwell understood that from the beginning, and I'm grateful to have worked with her administration to make it happen. The applause is genuine now, warm and sustained. Maya and I stand together at the podium, presenting the image of successful collaboration. She has her crown, the presidency, the recognition, the spotlight she craves. I have my kingdom, the funding, the programs, the institutional power that will outlast any single administration. As the ceremony concludes and people begin filtering out, Maya approaches me in the wings. The crowd noise provides cover for a private conversation, and I can see she has things to say that couldn't be expressed publicly. Sophie, she says quietly, I owe you an apology. I should have seen what Noah was doing. You trusted someone you thought was on your side, I reply. That's not a character flaw. Still. She looks out at the auditorium where parents are chatting excitedly about the arts announcements, while faculty members cluster around Dr. Williams, discussing implementation details for the new funding. You could have made me look terrible tonight. Instead, you protected me. Why? I consider the question carefully. In my first life, I would have said something about taking the high road or being the better person, but that's not really why I did it. Because destroying you doesn't help the arts program, I say honestly. You're popular, you're good with people, and you genuinely care about this school. I needed you to succeed so that I could succeed. Maya laughs, surprised by my directness. That's very strategic of you. Everything is strategy, Maya. The question is whether your strategy serves something bigger than yourself. She nods slowly, processing this. In the months since our election, Maya has learned that effective leadership requires more than good intentions and personal charisma. It requires understanding systems, building coalitions, and sometimes making choices that serve long-term goals rather than immediate preferences. The co-chair position, is this part of your strategy too? Partly, but also because I think we work well together when we're honest about what we each bring to the table. What do I bring? I smile, thinking about the evening's events and how differently they might have unfolded with a less skilled politician in Maya's position. You make people want to follow you. That's not a small thing. I can write grants and build programs, but I can't inspire the way you do. Together, we're stronger than either of us would be alone. It's a lesson I learned too late in my first life. Politics isn't about defeating your enemies, it's about converting them into allies. Maya was never my real enemy. Noah was with his zero-sum thinking and his belief that someone else's success diminished his own. Maya had simply been operating with incomplete information, making decisions based on advice from someone she trusted who was actively misleading her about available options and likely outcomes. Speaking of strategy, Maya says, what happens to Noah now? I glance across the auditorium where Noah is sitting alone, staring at his phone. A few people have approached him, but most are maintaining a careful distance. His social capital is evaporating in real time as word spreads about the evening's revelations. He'll be fine eventually, I say. Smart, privileged boys like Noah always land on their feet. But his reputation here is done. He'll probably transfer for senior year, start fresh somewhere else. And us? We build something worth building. I pull out Dr. Williams' card and show it to Maya. District Arts Coordinator position, paid with college credit. Want to co-apply? Maya's eyes widen as she reads the details on the card. They offered that to both of us? They offered it to me. I'm offering to share it with you. She looks at the card, then at me, clearly trying to understand the calculation behind this gesture. Why would you do that? Because the position requires someone who can work with school administrators, parent groups, and community stakeholders. You're better at that than I am. I'm better at program development and grant writing. Together, we could actually change how arts education works in this district. It's a risk, offering to share an opportunity I could claim entirely for myself. But I've learned that the biggest successes come from creating value for other people, not just for yourself. And Maya's political skills would make the district position more effective than anything I could accomplish alone. What about student council? Maya asks. I still have 8 months left as president. Keep the title. Use the platform to support district-level initiatives. Show the board that you can work beyond just school politics. Maya is quiet for a long moment, weighing the offer. I can see her processing the implications, the additional responsibility, the opportunity for genuine impact, the chance to rebuild her reputation after Noah's betrayal. Finally, she extends her hand. Partners? I shake it. Partners. As we walk toward the exit, I catch sight of Noah one more time. He's standing by himself near the back of the auditorium, checking his phone obsessively. The usual cluster of admirers who normally surrounded him has dispersed, leaving him isolated in a way that would have been unimaginable just hours ago. For a moment, I feel something like pity for him. In another life, we might have been friends. He's smart, charismatic, and genuinely talented at reading political currents and understanding what motivates different constituencies. But he made the fundamental error of treating other people's success as his failure. He saw the world as a zero-sum game where someone had to lose for him to win, where his influence could only be maintained by ensuring others remained powerless. I learned differently. I learned that the most sustainable victories come from expanding the game itself, creating new opportunities instead of fighting over existing ones. Maya and I walk out into the cool evening air where parents are still discussing the night's events. Several approach us to offer congratulations, and I watch Maya handle these interactions with natural ease. She remembers names, asks about siblings, makes each person feel seen and valued. Mrs. Patterson, whose daughter graduated 2 years ago, stops us near the parking lot. Sophie, I just wanted to say how impressed I am with what you've accomplished. Sarah always said the arts program here was special, but what you've built goes far beyond what she experienced. Thank you, though really this was a team effort. President Caldwell's support made everything possible. Maya smiles, but I can see her processing the interaction. These aren't just polite compliments. They're expressions of genuine gratitude from parents who understand the long-term value of what we've created. My son starts here next year, adds Mr. Chen, one of the foundation representatives. It's reassuring to know he'll have access to programs like these. These are the conversations that matter most, not the politics or the recognition, but the real impact on students and families who will benefit from the work we've done. Sophie, Maya says as we reach her car, can I ask you something? Sure. That first day when you decided not to run for president, I always wondered why. Everyone expected you to challenge me directly. I pause beside her car, considering how much truth to share. The parking lot is mostly empty now, just a few scattered cars and the distant sound of custodial staff cleaning up inside the building. I realized that being president would mean spending most of my time on politics instead of programs, and programs are what I actually care about. But you could have done both. You're certainly capable enough. Maybe. But doing both would have meant competing with you for attention, for resources, for allies. It would have split our support base and weakened us both. I lean against her car, looking up at the school building where lights are still on in the arts wing. Lights that will stay on for years to come because of the funding I secured. This way, we each get to do what we're best at. Maya follows my gaze to the building. You really think we can make a difference at the district level? I think we already have. Tonight was just the beginning. She smiles, and for the first time since I've known her, it's not a political smile. It's genuine, excited, a little bit nervous. Okay, let's do it. As I drive home, I think about the conversation I need to have with my parents. They'll be proud of the grants and the district appointment, but they'll also worry about me taking on too much responsibility. In my first life, I burned out completely, trying to do everything myself and trusting the wrong people. This time, I've built a different kind of support system. Maya handles the public-facing work, Rebecca manages communications and accountability, Mrs. Chen provides administrative guidance, and the arts faculty offer professional expertise. I don't have to carry everything alone. The district position will mean weekend workshops, summer programming, and coordination with schools across 3 counties. It's more work than any high school student should reasonably take on. But it's also an opportunity to influence arts education policy in ways that will benefit thousands of students over the next decade. And that's worth every extra hour I'll spend. At home, I sit at my desk and open my laptop to draft the co-application for the district position. Maya was right to be excited. This is bigger than anything we could have achieved through traditional student government channels. My phone buzzes with a text from Rebecca. Story's getting picked up by the county paper. Noah's finished. I type back, good reporting. Thanks for your help tonight. Thank you for the story. This is going to be great for my journalism portfolio. Another partnership that works because it serves everyone involved. Rebecca gets a significant investigative piece for her college applications. I get accountability for Noah's behavior, and the community gets transparency in student government operations. My second text is from Maya. Just talked to my parents about the district position. They're supportive but want to meet with you to discuss logistics. Dinner Sunday? I'll be there, I reply. The third text surprises me. It's from Noah. You played this perfectly. I underestimated you completely. I stare at the message for a long moment before responding. You underestimated everyone. That was always your problem. He doesn't reply, and I don't expect him to. Noah will disappear from our social circle now, probably transfer to private school where his family's connections can help him rebuild his reputation. He'll learn from this experience and likely become more careful, more subtle in his manipulations. But he won't change fundamentally. Some people see cooperation as weakness and mistake temporary setbacks for permanent defeats. Noah will spend his life fighting battles instead of building systems. I close my laptop and look around my room, at the shelves of scripts and art books, the awards from various competitions, the photos of past performances. This is my first life's legacy, but it doesn't have to be my only one. Tomorrow, Maya and I will start planning our district application. We'll outline programming ideas, identify potential partnerships, and develop a budget proposal that demonstrates our understanding of large-scale administration. It will be work that challenges both of us in new ways. And for the first time since I woke up in this second life, I'm excited about the future instead of just focused on correcting the past. The crown versus kingdom metaphor isn't perfect. Maya's presidency is more than just ceremonial, and my role involves plenty of public-facing responsibilities. But the core insight remains true. Sometimes the most effective power is the kind that doesn't require recognition. I let Maya wear the crown because crowns are temporary. Kingdoms, built with the right vision and the right partnerships, can last for generations. The arts programs we've created will outlive our high school careers. The district position will give us influence over policy decisions that affect thousands of students. The partnerships we've built with faculty, administrators, community leaders, and each other create networks that will serve us for decades. That's the real victory, not defeating Noah or Maya, but creating something larger than any of our individual ambitions. As I get ready for bed, I think about Dr. Williams's comment. Some people build careers on other people's work, while others build the work that careers depend on. In my first life, I was so focused on getting credit for my contributions that I lost sight of the contributions themselves. This time, I built the work first. The career recognition is following naturally, but it's not the primary goal. The goal is sustainable change that serves something bigger than my own success. And tomorrow, Maya and I will start building the next phase of that work together. The crown was always hers to wear, but the kingdom we're building belongs to everyone who believes that arts education matters, that student voices deserve to be heard, and that the best victories are the ones that create opportunities for others to succeed. 6 months ago, I woke up with a second chance and a choice. I could fight the same battles again, or I could change the game entirely. I chose to change the game. Now, as I drift off to sleep, I'm already dreaming about what we'll build next.